Since that, I found out that Washington Federal has leadership. Community and leadership are some of the stuff that we're about. And the man I want to introduce now is Roy Whitehead. And Roy is, I took a little time to learn about him. He's chairing King County's United Way. You don't often see the bank presidents chairing United Way. United Way is for poor people. And here we got a rich guy doing something really nice for poor people. But that's not all they do. They do low-income housing. They do services for seniors as policy, as what they're giving back to the community. I think most importantly, and what's most relevant to us, is that they also provide jobs. And one of my biggest worries, I was happy as could be when Horizon went down, but I also knew people that worked there. And I was very glad that a responsible, thoughtful, considerate human beings came in to take over that bank to make sure those jobs are there. Because it's good to have parks, but you also got to have the jobs for the people working in the community. They're committed to both those things, not one or the other, but both. You don't often find that. Roy, come on up.
Oh, stop. Thank you. You know, humility has always been one of our unspoken values at Washington Federal, going back, I think, to, and I mean that quite sincerely. Bankers can be sincere. And it really goes back to our Scandinavian roots in Ballard. You know, we were founded in 1917. It was a mutual organization that came into existence so that neighbors could, who had the money to save, could do so for the benefit of those who need to borrow to buy homes. And so we've got this sort of caring attitude towards our communities that comes from our very roots, and we think it, we feel it, we believe it every single day. And the other reason, though, that you know, humility is something that's very important to us is because we've seen what greed and hubris can do to people. And it never comes to a very good end, does it? When we want more than what we really deserve from the planet and the society that we live in. And so, you know, I think it would be fair for us to say, in keeping with all of those traditions, that our view is that we played a very small role in the event that we're all celebrating this evening. But we are nonetheless thrilled to be here, and we are very, very thankful for the recognition, because it does come at a time when even honorable banking institutions like Washington Federal are more likely to be vilified and used as cannon fodder for the political machine for their own ends. And so I've got to tell you, this is way better. And for that reason, because of what we have come to expect in a very, very difficult time for all of us in terms of our treatment by governmental entities, it would be impossible for us to overcompliment Mayor Dan Pike, the City Council, and the incredible staff that the city has here in the city of Bellingham. I haven't heard them mentioned tonight, but we dealt with many of them, and they are very, very competent people. And because of the collective calmness and professionalism of both the elected officials and the staff, we had the time to be enabled to work through what was a very, very complicated process. And just to tell you how complicated this was, we actually ended up suing ourselves and having to go before a judge. You know, so we're spending money to defend ourselves and to sue ourselves at the same time just to work through this. That's how complicated this whole thing was. So anyway, we're quite pleased for the recognition. We're thankful for the time. It really did restore, I think, our faith, and certainly helped my faith, that communities can come together Despite all of the different vantage points that each of us may have on a particular issue, despite all the differing opinions that may exist within a community, and certainly that exists within healthy as well as unhealthy communities, and make great things happen. But it takes leadership, and you are really, really fortunate to have that here in the city of Bellingham. More importantly, I think I'm here tonight to say thank you for your patience, particularly during that year and a half when we really couldn't say anything about our intentions relevant to this property because of the ongoing litigation. You were pretty nice to us under those circumstances. We're thankful for that. But I also just want to say congratulations to, and I'll include us in this, congratulations to us as a community for doing something great and for preserving this property and dedicating it to public use. May it always be so. And just thank you so much for recognizing us for the little part that we played. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. We have a few more speakers, and there's a lot of torch passing here. When I first moved here, some of the first people I met were Dean and Dudley Evenson, and I'm just thrilled to have worked with them for, well, again, since last century on this issue, at least 20 years, and they've been responsible also for countless meetings, beautiful video that helped educate so many in our community. And they've worked on many, many elements, and we're very privileged to have them here to both speak and play some music for us. Dean and Dudley Evenson.
We are so happy to be here. We've been to this room with many, many of you here over the 20-year period. In fact, it was in 1990 when we received a letter from Bob Tull, the lawyer for the Madrona Corporation, informing us and the many neighbors in this area that there was going to be a 1,400-unit development that was going to happen in the forest right across the way. It just so happened we had moved to Bellingham from Arizona, and I felt like in a way we were planted on that hillside because we looked out across the ridge from the other side, from the Fairhaven, over by 24th Street. And we thought, oh, this is so beautiful and so natural. We'd hear the coyotes and we'd, just see so much deer. In fact, we just saw deer in our yard yesterday, and it felt like home. We'd been in the desert a long time, so it was wonderful to be in this magical rainforest. We heard that first summer that there were going to be a few houses built up there, and then in October we got a letter that said there were going to be 1,400 houses on 100 acres, and we're like, what? This can't be. So needless to say, we came to the meeting at Fairhaven Middle School. I don't know if it was this room or another room. I think they might have done some renovation, but it was the same school. And we all were horrified to think of that many houses happening. And so we exchanged phone numbers. We didn't even have email at the time. And we decided to form an organization. So that winter, in 1991, we formed an organization called Interurban Neighbors. And it was based on the fact that one of the aspects of the development was that they wanted to build a arterial road from Chuckanut Drive over to 24th Street that would go through the forest there. And we said, no, that just can't happen, because the Interurban Trail is one of the most popular trails in Bellingham, and people come from all over the region to enjoy it. We thought this is not a good thing. So we said at the time, we don't know what is going to happen, but we know for one thing, we are going to get to know our neighbors. And yes, here we are. We know each other. We know each other so well, and it's been wonderful to experience this. And I remember, I think it might have been the second year we were dealing with this, we finally walked up there, and it was winter, and we thought, oh my goodness, look at all this wetness. It's of the ponds and wetlands and the contiguous wetlands and Class 1 wetlands. And wetlands were just becoming realization. We didn't, prior to that, developers would, oh, well, wetland, we'll just fill it in and build houses on it. In fact, much of lower Manhattan is built on filled in areas. So we have since learned, such as examples like Katrina, because so much of what was formerly wetlands became walled in, and then it became disastrous when the water started flowing. But we did realize there's a lot of wildlife up there. And I used to it was also the time of the first Gulf War, and I remember I would just stay up late at night and worry and just lament about the problems of our world. I remember going to a concert with some women from Fairhaven College, and one of the women said, oh, isn't it terrible what's happening in the world these days? But I have the perfect solution. I stay up all night and worry about it. And that's what was happening, because it was so deep. We were just feeling it so deeply. And we'd never been activists in that way. And we have a music company, and we create peaceful relaxation music, but we weren't used to doing that sort of activism. But, sometimes when things happen, you just go ahead and rise to the occasion. So if you look back, if you haven't had a chance to, I've saved every article and newsletter and pictures and all sorts of things up there. There's a really nice history back there. You can see a lot of the work that many people have done. In fact, Skye Bergsma, Jody's daughter, there's a letter she wrote when she was 8 years old. Anyway, it's kind of fun to just see the evolution of this project, because we worked on it for about 6 or 7 years, and then one of the things that happened with our friend Serene, who's here in the audience, Patricia Decker, the new sitting planning director at the time, she came on a walk in the woods. We said, let's go for a walk in the woods. You don't even know what's up there, because I believe the zoning had changed in such a way, and it was we were trying to how did this happen? How do we get so much zoning in this certain area? And what happened? It was a trade-off. It was a trade-off because the city apparently wanted to build that arterial road, and they needed the developer to have that high level of density, and so therefore we got this unrealistic density up in the forest where nobody had even ever walked, and plus when it probably was approved, they didn't even know that wetlands were that important. So we said, come, let's go for a walk in the woods. And I believe Dr. Gibb, you came with us on that walk. Brady Green was there, Patricia Decker, Bob Tull, representatives from the owners of the property. And we walked up there, and Brady Green helped us identify all of the habitats and the deer fawning areas, and showed us where the wetlands were and the runoffs. And so after that meeting, Patricia Decker, the planning director, said, okay, developers, you need to make a bubble map, and you need to say which are the important areas that need to be preserved. Obviously, you can build some places, but you can't build every place. So they created this bubble map, and I remember we went over there with Serene, Dean and I did, and I think maybe that was all that went, a few other people maybe, but there were 35 acres that were okay to build on out of the 100. And in the meantime, they donated about 16 to 18 acres of the Class 1 wetland, which they couldn't build on anyway. So now they only had 84 acres, and they were still going to build the 1,400 houses, etc. So it kept going, and we made videos, and Dean will share a little bit about his vision and how it happened. Videos after videos after video. Jim Johnston, who's a wildlife biologist, I believe he's here tonight. And we're going to show a little short clip of that video in a few minutes. But I'd just like to thank everybody for how this has evolved, and let Dean just say a few words, and then we'll just share a little music.